Welcome back, students. In the previous lecture we have started about the concept of magnetostatic, and we have started with the Biot-Savart law, the basic law of the magnetostatic, and we came to the conclusion of the statement of this Biot-Savart law, and we came to the conclusion that dH is directly proportional to ideal sine alpha upon r square, and finally we wrote something like this. Now if someone has didn't understood, let's talk about this in detail. First of all, if someone asks me, now we have written this dH as k ideal sine alpha upon r square, k is a constant of proportionality, and we are having some confusion in that. So forget about this Biot-Savart law for a time being. I want to write let's say the cross product between dl and r bar. dl cross r bar. Can anyone tell me what it will be? dl cross r bar. So can you write this as dl, that is mod of dl, into mod of r, that is dl into r into sine alpha? Yes or no? Yes. Into a n cap. Okay. Now this is a n cap is the unit normal vector. Sorry, I am not able to write with this marker. A n cap. So similar to that. Now I want to ask you certain question. Once again, if I want to write a cross product between dl cross ar bar or ar, okay, ar bar only. What is ar bar? It is a unit normal vector. The name itself indicates it is a normal vector. So if it is a normal vector and its entity is unit, so can I write this as a dl? It is magnitude of dl bar into ar cap or ar mod of ar bar. I will write this for a time being as something like this: sine of the angle alpha between what? dl and ar. So what is this ar cap? What is the modulus of ar? Since it is unit vector, its entity is 1. So it is dl into 1 into sine alpha. Agree with me? So it is dl into sine alpha. Since mod of ar cap is unity, so it will be 1. So dl sine alpha. So if that is so, can I replace dl sine alpha here as dl bar cross r bar or ar cap? Yes, I can. So I dl bar, so I will write this dl bar for a time being, dl bar cross ar cap, and I came to the conclusion dh is equal to I dl bar cross ar cap upon 4 pi r square. So that comes to final conclusion that I dl cross r bar upon 4 pi r cube. Now see, while understanding Gauss law or Coulomb's law, dot product is important to understand, but in the magnetostatic I already told you cross product plays an important role, so you must have the basic knowledge of the cross product. So before proceeding further, just try to revise your concepts of the cross product, and then only we can proceed for this discussion. So next, let's go to the next slide. So where r is mod of r bar and ar cap is r bar upon r bar, direction of dh bar can be determined by right hand rule. Now just hold your right hand in such a way that your curled finger indicates direction of current, or your curled finger indicates direction of I will once again repeat. Hold your right hand in such a way that your thumb indicates the direction of current. If the thumb indicates the direction of current, your curled finger indicates direction of magnetic field. Okay, just hold it for a right hand with your thumb facing upward or downward, in any way you can consider. So if your thumb indicates direction of current, your curled finger indicates direction of magnetic field intensity. Now if I hold it something like this with the thumb facing in the plane of paper, if I am looking at in this direction, so let's say I am not able to draw the 3D thing, so if it is coming inside the plane of paper, now when h or I is represented by a small circle with a dot, so something like this is a small circle with a dot, it means that h or I is traveling, is leaving the surface, that means it is coming out. Simply, if you take a screwdriver and I want to tighten a screw, just try to understand. If I want to tighten a screw and where I am going to rotate a screwdriver in the clockwise direction. If the screwdriver is in the clockwise direction, it is rotating in the clockwise direction, screw will go inside the plane of this board, inside the plane of this paper, it will be denoted by the cross. And in the other way, if I want to unloose the screw or loose the screw, what I am going to do? I am going to have the movement of the screwdriver in the anti-clockwise direction. If I am doing it in the anti-clockwise direction, screw is coming outside the plane of paper. So try to understand direction of the screw. Either it is coming outside the plane of paper or it is going inside the plane of paper. If it is going outside the plane of paper, definitely we will draw it by the dot with a circle around, and if it is going inside the plane of paper, we will draw it with the cross encircled. Is it okay? So small circle with a dot means h or I is leaving the surface, that is coming outside the plane of paper. With a cross means h or I is entering the surface. Is it okay? So we can have a differential current distribution, namely line current, surface current, that we are going to talk about. But try to understand. Once again, hold your right hand in certain direction. Let's say if your thumb is not indicating a direction of current, just assume that your curled finger indicates the direction of current. So circulating currents are denoted by your curled fingers, then your thumb indicates the direction of magnetic field. Similarly, counterclockwise, if the thumb indicates direction of current, your curled finger indicates direction of magnetic field intensity. So it is as simple as something. Now, while understanding a Coulomb's law or Gauss law, not only the point charges will come into the picture, there are certain line charges also. Similar to that, do we have structures of line charges, surface charges in the magnetostatic? Yes, one can ask a question. Yes, definitely. The line charges and surface charges and volume charges, the concept which we have studied in the electrostatics, are equally applicable in case of magnetostatic also. So we'll try to understand that. When we have a differential current distribution, now see, whenever I am talking about electrostatic, I will call charge distribution. Whenever I am talking about magnetostatic, I will talk current distribution. So current distribution, namely line current, surface current and volume current, as shown in figure. What is that figure? Let's first of all see this, then we'll go for. See, this is the current which we have already seen. So I is the current flowing in this direction and IDL is the differential length. So this is figure A. So this is the line current distribution. So it is line current distribution. Don't say that this is a line charge distribution. This is line current distribution. Then a surface, if the surface is something like this, with this arrow indicates the direction of current on this surface, I will take the differential surface area, namely ds, and K indicates surface current density. See, I is simply current, K is a surface current density, and capital J is a volume current density. So if I draw it a pipe like a structure or a volume like a structure, I will take a volume, certain volume, something like this cuboidal shape, and this differential volume dV I will denote, and JdV. I am going to provide these all notes to you in the PDF form, don't worry about that. So these are three distribution. Now someone can ask me whether there is a concept of point charge in the magnetostatic. No, there is no question of point charge, definitely not, because whenever I am talking about electrostatic, isolated charge exists, but in case of magnetostatic there is no concept of monopole, or single charge cannot exist. It should have to be exist in the south north pole. That we are going to talk about when we will start with the magnetic flux density. But right now try to understand there are three current distribution. Likewise there were three charge distribution, even four in the electrostatic: point charge, line charge, surface charge, volume charge. Similar to that in the magnetostatic there are three current distribution. This is the line current distribution, this is surface current distribution, and this is volume current distribution, respectively denoted by capital I line current, capital K surface current, and capital J is a volume current distribution. So we'll talk about that, and first of all we'll go back to this particular slide where K is the surface current density. Its unit is ampere per meter. If you do remember, a line current unit is line charge unit is, it was what? Volts per meter. What is the surface charge unit, ρs unit? It is volts per meter square. Similar to that, if I am talking about, so K is the surface current density, so it will be unit is ampere per meter. For the line, unit is meter. For a point charge, we have unit of coulomb per meter, something like that. And then K is the surface current density whose unit is ampere per meter. J is a volume current density whose unit is ampere per meter square. Once again remember these things in the detail. I have unit of I as ampere, I have a unit of this K as ampere per meter, and I have having the unit of this as ampere per meter square. So we'll talk about that in the later stage. And the source element is written as IDL. So see, current meter, so we can see this unit is ampere. Then KDS, once again unit is ampere. JdV unit is ampere. Why? Because this is in ampere per meter multiplied by meter get cancel. This is ampere. This is ampere per meter square into meter square cancel. This is ampere per meter cube, and meter cube cancel, and I am getting the answer as ampere. And finally equation 3, which equation 3 we have gone through. This is equation number 3. Okay, let me go back to this previous slide. So this is our equation number 3. I guess I can denote it with equation number 3. Equation number 3 now can be written as, it is h bar as line integral IDL cross AR cap upon 4 pi r square. It is applicable for line current. KDS cross AR cap upon 4 pi r square surface current. JdV cross AR cap upon 4 pi r square for volume current. So these three equations you should remember, and while writing the derivation of the Biot-Savart law, you should not forget to write all these things in the detail. Okay. The next thing, so it's better to start this next thing in the next lecture, because I need to take you to certain derivation where we are supposed to solve certain numericals also based on that. So right now this was the basic of the Biot-Savart law. I hope you have understood. If you have not understood, just listen to this video once again and you'll come to know about these facts, and try to refer a book also if you want to. The book name is Matthew Sadiku, which we are referring till unit number 4. We are referring Matthew Sadiku book, and even for unit number 6 also. So right now I will stop here. So keep learning, and thank you very much.